Well, welcome. It is so nice to see you all here today to our Technology Solutions Seminar. Our lead presenter today will be Dr. Samuel Kahn, who is a Vice President and CIO from Empire State College. And my name is Steve Handy. I am from Bluehost. I have worked in the industry of cloud technology and cloud computing for the last about 9 years. And been working in education for the last 3 and helping to deliver this type of technology solutions to the educational institutions. And we are very excited today to be able to discuss some of these solutions with you. And just before we get started, though, we did have a few kind of like housekeeping items that we just wanted to mention real quick. One of the things that we wanted to do is create a Twitter hashtag. You guys on Twitter? Yes? Yes? All right. Awesome. Woo. Go Twitter. So we created a little Twitter hashtag here because we wanted to give an opportunity for people to be able to share thoughts and ideas and kind of collaborate on the topic that we're discussing today. What Dr. Kahn will be discussing today is about moving from teaching to learning and personalized learning especially. And so if you have had experience with this or have done awesome things at your institution or have ideas or ask questions, use that hashtag, BHT2L, T2L standing for Teaching to Learning, BH for Bluehost. And we're just going to kind of create like a little conversation online and share thoughts and collaborate with each other. That might be kind of fun. And also, if you haven't downloaded the app, there's an opportunity for you to give us a rating on the presentation, give feedback, and so forth. And so we'd appreciate you doing that if you wouldn't mind doing that at the end of the presentation. So as I mentioned before, I will be presenting with Dr. Kahn, but Dr. Kahn is our lead presenter here. It is a pleasure to have him here. He has over 35 years of military and professional experience in the field of technology and has been in education since 2001. So without further ado, I will turn the time over to Dr. Kahn.
Thanks, Steve. Everybody can hear me? Good. Welcome, and thanks for being here. This is some pretty fun stuff to talk about. So let's get right to it. We have an agenda, and I want to talk first a little bit about the conversation shift that's occurring in higher education right now. There's probably several conversation shifts that are occurring, and they're all sort of indirectly related. And then changes in traditional online learning and other modes. Kind of an interesting thing I heard at a conference not long ago was the phrase traditional online learning. And that shows you how far we've come in the past 10 years. It's pretty commonplace, nothing new about it anymore. Talk about content-driven instruction and then personal learning networks. Then I'm going to hand it back over to Steve so he can talk about some of the good work that's going on at Bluehost and how I think you can take advantage of some good things there. So this conversation shift that's occurring, clearly the U.S. Department of Education and the federal government are sending a message whenever they're talking about performance-based funding models and things like that. And the message, sort of put bluntly, is that we're tired of higher education institutions running up students' debt and giving out all of this Pell money and things like that, and then when you graduate, they can't get jobs and they can't pay it back. Many of them default on it and things like that, and they're just, they don't want to do that anymore, so it's like, fix it. So there's a lot of conversations going on about how you do that. One of the big conversations that is out there is in competency-based education and moving to competency-based education because that has a direct connection to job skills through task analysis and that kind of thing. And has been known, it's not a new concept, it's been around for a long time, but it's been known to help in that direction of employability. But one of the other conversations that is also happening is just because it's 2014, we're well into the 21st century now, and things are changing. How we engage as a society, how we learn is changing. And so that shift in conversation that I want to talk about more is the shift from teaching to learning. It's the shift in focus for faculty and for students. Students are already doing it. It's just that the faculty haven't caught on to it yet. But they're already trying to learn collaboratively, they're trying to learn digitally, they're trying to learn in virtual spaces. They have a continuum of space that they work in that is not the old notion that learning stops when you leave the classroom. They're learning all the time. They're learning on the go. And so the confluence of physical and virtual spaces today, there's no boundaries to it. And so we've got to start thinking about not focusing on teaching. You've heard the whole sage on the stage thing now needs to be the guide on the side kind of talk. It's a little bit like that. And we see it in the faces of the students. If you look, go into a big lecture hall and look at the faces of the students. If you walk in and you go to the front of the room and you start lecturing and you demand attention and you want them to take notes and hang on your every word and all that kind of stuff, do they look engaged? I don't think they look engaged. So the point that we're missing in this shift, one of the key points of transitioning from teaching to learning is we have to change the way in which we engage with students. That's a very old model. Teaching and learning, from teaching to learning, looks more like this. I tell a lot of faculty, and I say this a lot of places, that if your notion of a computer lab is rows and rows and rows of hardwired computers, that's a very last century concept. The 21st century computer lab looks like Starbucks. Go to Starbucks, it looks like that. In fact, Virginia Tech just opened a new graduate lab. They have a Starbucks in it, and so students have collaborative spaces where they can sit in groups of 4, 5, 6 together. They work more like this. So it's about mobility in their computing. It's about collaboration and sharing as the focus and the change in pedagogy and andragogy begins to shift and change in response to this. So one of the other shifts that we're seeing is from e-learning to m-learning. Things are happening very quickly happening very quickly in this shift. We're starting to see mobile computing. You've heard terms like BYOD. And so, students want to compute on their own devices. They want to do it mobily. And the point of convenience of the web, they want to take it with them now. That's what really caught on in online learning was that the new point of convenience became the web, and it fit the lifestyle of adult learners. But now it's going even deeper than that because it's about having mobility and being able to take your learning with you and learning on the go and learning on demand, which is what a lot of the idea behind personal learning networks is. So we have new modes and new models of learning that are occurring as a result of this. Application development is changing so that everything is responsive design. We're looking at having applications that work on various size screens and different devices that run over 3G, 4G networks, as opposed to just, now sitting with a laptop at home at a table somewhere kind of thing like that. New learner characteristics. If you're in tune with the new Generation C, then you've heard that, they're very digitally savvy. They're tech savvy. They have a variety of devices. There's a survey out recently that was polling students and saying, if you were on a deserted island, what one thing could you not live without? And the choices were things like family members and beer and stuff like that. The one thing they couldn't live without was their computing device. They would take that to a deserted island with them and be just quite fine. So they're very video enabled as well. It's a video generation, and they learn through video as a principal form. So the learning environment is important because up until this point in time, we've been trying to change pedagogy in response to technology. And some people have tried to turn that around and say, let's make the technology drive a change in our pedagogy. And neither one of those things work completely well. Neither one of those strategies are really effective because the missing dimension in it is the learning environment itself. It's space. And so we have to start looking at the intersection of space and technology and pedagogy because they're, in that three-dimensional view, There's a lot of things going on in there. Physical space is working well with virtual spaces. Technologies are mobile, so location of the learning space itself becomes sort of irrelevant. And so there's new forms of engagement that occur as a result of this mobility and the technology-infused education piece of this. So when we look at space, I'm going to show you an example in a few minutes of a space where my friend and colleague, Dr. Jafran, and I have worked over the past couple of years to design and build a space. And I tell everybody I spent about $500,000 of his money on the build-out of this facility that is a phenomenal teaching facility. It's in such high demand now, it's utilized 100% of the day, teaching times. And one of the principal design criteria that we had for this space was that when a faculty member walks into the room, we don't want them to know where to stand. We want them to be confused. And the reason we did that is so that you can begin to break down that paradigm of, I'm here to teach you. Every faculty member walks into a classroom, immediately they start looking, where do I stand? Because it's about me, and I'm going to stand up in front of all of you, and I'm going to talk, and you're going to listen to me, and you're going to take notes, and all this kind of stuff. And no, they don't do that. Recently, we launched a mobile application that allows students to register for classes and drop add and do things like that. And another thing that I commonly say to faculty members is that if you go into the classroom and you say, put away all your mobile devices, and if I see them, I'm going to confiscate them, you've already lost them at that point in time. They're going to completely disengage. So one particular faculty member, to remain nameless, came to see me, and he was very angry because something was my fault as a CIO. And the thing that was my fault was he went into his class, and unlike what I told him to do, told all of them to do, don't go in and say those things. He went in and said, put away all your mobile devices. If I see any cell phones out, I'm going to confiscate them. And he says to me, this one kid over on the side wouldn't do it. And I went over to him and I said, didn't you hear me? I said, put away your device. And he says, I will in a minute. I'm dropping your class. That was my fault. So that's the type of mentality that we're dealing with learners today. They do everything right on the spot. I mean, not only will they drop your class, they'll do it right in front of you. No qualms about it. So learning environments have to be a primary consideration. And you're looking for learning environments that seamlessly transcend physical and virtual boundaries and promote levels of engagement that have collaboration in the mix and the ability to do some type of social activity. Personal learning networks have an opportunity to engage at a social level of learning with students as well. So that's another reason why they're important. The big thing about personal learning networks is that it's a demonstration of your ability as a faculty member to engage with Generation C and all of the digital learners out there. If it's bad enough if you don't have a mobile phone. I mean, once they see you have a mobile phone, and even if it's an Apple, then you're particularly cool, and all of that kind of stuff. But that can't be enough. That's not where it ends. You have to make it real. You have to have the ability, the platforms in place to start to actually engage at a digital social level in the learning process here. So traditional online learning used to mean just, I can sit at my table at home on my laptop and do it. Now it means very different things. We're using different devices. Literally, if you look at an iPhone, you can scale it out in increments of 2 inches, and there is a device of every size. And so everybody has a preferred computing device. As I look around the room, I see a whole variety of computing devices. That's the BYOD concept. And we have to deliver connectivity and coverage. We have to deliver an instructional environment, a virtual environment, with some type of model of instruction, mode of instruction, that includes learning objects. And so remember that it's very content-driven. And so one of the big initiatives that I see occurring in higher education these days is a shift in traditional online learning to a focus on content, not only for learning, but for instruction. There's a pilot class running now where the goal of how you earn a grade in the class is that you have to work together with 4 or 5 of your classmates, and you have to create 8 learning objects for the course. And so that means they have to research the topic, they have to write it, they have to script it, they have to record it, they have to upload it for grading. They have to create the learning objects, and by creating these 8 different learning objects, that's how they take the course. So we're starting to see the use of content delivery networks in very interesting ways instructionally. It's not about just pushing content out, but it's about using content as a mechanism for demonstration of learning. And I think as we move into competency-based education type things, this is going to be one of the principal forms of artifact that is assessed. So we see content-driven modes of instruction for just-in-time instruction, basically learning on demand, if you want to think about it that way. It's not uncommon on campuses today to see students walking to class, and if they've got an earpiece and they're looking at their iPhone or whatever device they have, and they're on their way to class and they've forgotten how to factor polynomials. So in the 10 minutes that it takes them to get to class, they can go to a content delivery network, they can come up with 8 different learning objects that they can play on the way to class, and by the time they get there, they're remediated. So you can use it to fill in, for remedial learning, you can use it for tutoring, you can use it for that just-in-time delivery of knowledge that students need, and they expect to have that. They can go to YouTube and get it, they can go to Vimeo and get it. So they're expecting education institutions to follow suit. E-learning to M-learning, being able to drive content to different platforms, even mobile platforms. Again, it has to be tested and developed so that it's a seamless transition as we start seeing applications move more from e-learning applications to M-learning applications. E-portfolio instruction is another good example of where content is very important as a delivery mode and as a way of engagement. The flipped classroom model, a content delivery network, the same learning objects that you're using for learning on demand, that you're using to create online courses for e-learning and M-learning, the same content learning objects that you have for all of that, also drives the flipped classroom model. If you want to see active levels of engagement, try a flipped classroom. And that's what we're going to show you here in a minute is a prototype for a flipped classroom that we built at Southern Polytechnic State University. And the idea behind the flip, of course, is that the content comes out of the classroom and it's delivered outside. And when they get into the classroom, they work collaboratively with each other to engage and essentially do the homework or some type of facilitated assignment that they have. So this thing should kick off. It'll give you a little 3D view. This was the design concept. And again, when you walk in as a faculty member, the first thing you think is, well, where do I stand? Where's my place? And so it breaks all that down so that faculty members have to just basically work the whole room. They have to go, you have to actually go out to the students. And you go into their environment. And what you find is that some faculty members sense a loss of control. They're not really sure how to do that, how to work in there, and all of that kind of stuff. So it does start to break down the concept of this one-to-many pedagogy that we've got to get away from, which inherently then starts to facilitate that shift from teaching to learning. You have to start focusing on what the students are doing as learning exercises and how you can create things that facilitate their learning as opposed to your teaching. Teaching is, a lot of times there are faculty members who have the attitude that if the corollary were a surgeon, that coming out of the operating room, the operation was a success, but the patient died. Well, that's what's happening in the classroom. We have brilliant people walking out of the room thinking, that was the best lecture I ever gave, and they're just really happy with it. Meanwhile, students are, home crying, trying to figure out what to do with all of this. So when we took this and actually built it, change. This is what it looks like. So it's real. It has a raised floor in it. It's about that high. All of the cabling and routing and switching all runs underneath there. It's very sophisticated. Students can come in and in the center of the tables, those pop up and they can plug their devices into that. And then they can share by hitting one of the hot buttons on the table. They can share out their screen to all of the rest of the people around the table on the big screen at the table. Then the faculty member has control of the whole room. They can share, they can gamify things if they want to put this table against this table, or if they say, this is really good, let's have everybody look at this. And teaching becomes incredibly faster. They start to teach at a faster rate because you can just simply switch environments and move content much faster than you can with PowerPoints or drawing on a whiteboard or anything like that. Asking the question, who can find information on this on the web, you'll have all of them pulling stuff up within 30 seconds, and then you can spend the next time going around and sharing that out and talking about, the various points that you want to make. So when we first put this in operation, it had about 60% utility. By the second term, it was 100%. It's just in constant use because faculty members and students just love the way it feels. They want to spend time in there. It feels like Starbucks. It's sort of like a lounge where you can go hang out and do whatever you want to do, but it's all Wi-Fi enabled and that kind of thing. So we're starting to see the terminology change a bit from personal learning networks to personal learning clouds because there's so much out there in the cloud that is just available to start building platforms of engagement. And that's what this really is a faculty member's platform for how they engage. And it's promoting a new kind of concept. We've heard of pedagogy, we've heard andragogy. You're going to start hearing about peeragogy. And peeragogy is the ability to do collaboration, to learn from one another, and to begin to share learning objects back and forth in new and creative ways. So to me, I think this is really exciting. To many faculty, it's terrifying because how do we ever, shift the way we fundamentally thought about the focus being on me and going in and teaching to what's actually happening on the other side of the equation and shifting the focus to the other side of the equation. So how do you build a personal learning network? First thing you do a domain registration. You want to have something that's personal, that's unique, that's identifiable, that's easy to remember, that promotes you as a brand in there. So you want to register your own domain. You want to get a foundation website, some type of content management system or blog, some sort of development platform where you can start building things into it. You want to integrate social media and Web 2.0 and 3.0 technologies into this. There's some really interesting ways to do mashups. They're called mashups, where it's the integration of web applications into a single space. And then you can integrate your social media piece of this in there as well. You can integrate feeds. There's so much information coming through the World Wide Web, and even more as Internet 2 starts to take hold and kick in. There's a whole new semantic web coming that's in prototype now, and it's all completely content driven. And so a lot of these feeds are available as RSS feeds and other types of feeds as well. Have some strategy for infomediation in terms of how you aggregate and disaggregate content. If you're not familiar with the American Library Association's 5 standards on information literacy, you might want to review that as well. And then you develop your interaction model, either asynchronous, synchronous, some hybrid form of interaction, but set the ground rules on how you want to interact on your own platform. And those are the basics that you have to put into place. And Bluehost, I think, makes it really easy. And so Steve's going to tell you about that and talk about how they can help you engage with this type of strategy. Steve?
Thank you, Sam. So I do have an iPhone, so I guess that means I'm cool then, right? Okay, good. Glad to know that. Well, I just love what Sam is talking about because we are huge believers in this concept of being able to use technology to create content and then to deliver it in a very personalized format. And to touch on what Sam is talking about, this whole concept of personal learning clouds, personal learning networks that faculty members can create and have a way for you to create your own content and then deliver that to your students. And then since it's in the cloud, it's something that you can work on from anywhere, take with you, even if you moved institutions. The idea of this whole personal learning network or personal learning cloud is that you own your own real estate, your own piece of the cloud, where you can store this content that is then accessible for your students anywhere you go, anywhere they go. And so to give you an example of what that might look like, Sam went through and talked about the different steps of having a personalized domain name, of getting a foundational content management system where you can put this content on. Now those are terms, but what does that look like? I can show you an example. Actually at Empire State College, where Sam is right now, one of the things that they have done is actually created their own MOOC website, which is actually quite neat. It'd actually probably be beneficial to have Sam tell you more about that. So if you have questions, you could ask Dr. Khan how they've been using that at Empire State College. But they built this website on the Bluehost platform where you could create content, different faculty have created content, these learning objects, put it on there in a format to where you can deliver that content to the student and have a website that you direct them to be able to consume that content. Another example that we also have is the Harvard English department has created their own website. So they got their own domain name, as you can see there, harvardwrites.com. Oh, I forget I have a laser pointer. Instead of following my finger, you can probably follow this. So harvardwrites.com. So they have their own personalized domain. It's their own space. This is their content. They own it. It does not like Bluehost owns it. We just provide the technology, the platform, the power for them to do this. And then all of the faculty within the English department are contributing to this website. Whatever content they create and learning objects that they want to deliver to their students, they put it up on here. And since we live in a digital world and in a digital age where almost every single one of your students has a mobile device, in fact, in 2011 is when we passed that tipping point, when in 2011, when we actually sold more mobile devices than PCs. Kind of crazy. And to think that there's basically more smartphones out there than there is people in the entire world. Most people own multiple smartphones. We have tablets like crazy. We live in a digital world. And so to have our content in a digital format just seems to follow suit. It makes sense. There's a lot of logic behind that of being able to do that. It's accessible, it's easy to consume, and it can be consumed from anywhere. And so to be able to have content in that form and deliver it to your students is really very quite powerful. And so this is something that we are passionate about at Bluehost. We provide faculty with free accounts so that they can create their own personal learning networks and do this for their students. Now, what about the student side? Now, the student side of it, just as Dr. Khan mentioned, content is king. That is absolutely true for faculty, but it is also true for students. It's a very competitive world out there for students right now. Some of the things that they are trying to accomplish that both faculty want to do and students want to do this as well is, as Dr. Khan touched on, that competency-based education, to be able to create an evidence of learning, not just to be able to pass an exam, but to actually have an artifact or some kind of evidence to show that I have mastered a concept or I understand, I have a skill in this area. And so students are creating evidence of learning, and that's why we created this education program to help them facilitate that as well. Because students, how this evidence of learning can help them while going to school is that they can enhance that pedagogy, to be able to have peer-to-peer collaboration, to be able to get easier feedback and collaborate with faculty with their creating these artifacts in a digital format. And with those devices, I mean, think about it. Pretty much every one of your students has a smartphone that can take great pictures, can take video, they can document evidence mobily quite easily and put it up in the cloud within a matter of minutes. If I'm doing a project, I can take videos of it. I can take pictures of it. I can record audio on my smartphone. I can upload those audio clips to a website. I can upload those photos to a gallery. I can upload those videos on my website. There's a lot of power in that, to be able to have new forms of creating evidence of learning and to collaborate with faculty and their peers to be able to help one another in that learning process. But also, as they get closer to graduation, they're worried about the mounting student debt that they have. How am I going to pay that back? And I'm probably going to have to pay that back by getting a job so that I can actually earn some money. But how do I get a job when it's so competitive and the economy is so difficult? And so to give them that competitive edge, one of the things that is extremely beneficial to have is to be able to demonstrate to a future employer that I have the knowledge, I have the skills that you're looking for. So how do they do that? Well, to highlight that, here is a Gallup poll that was taken last year, where Gallup interviewed business leaders across the United States and asked them one question. They said, when you are hiring someone who has recently graduated, what matters most to you? And we want you to rate that on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being extremely important, 1 being I don't care at all. And they asked them 4 different categories. Here's the categories down here. 1 is amount of knowledge in the field. 2, applied skills in the field. 3, college or university major. And 4, where the candidate received their degree. So we took a portion of these findings just to illustrate it here in a graph to show you that when it comes to hiring managers and those who are hiring your students who, when they are graduating, what they are saying that matters most to them is what kind of knowledge do they have in that field and what kind of skills do they have. Naturally, right? If I'm going to hire someone, I want to make sure that you can do the job that I'm hiring you for. And so our traditional format of a resume is I can list off what experience I have, but it becomes extremely difficult for me to show you that I actually have that knowledge and I actually have those skills. But think about it. We live in a digital age. Why are we still submitting paper resumes, right? It's like, okay, do you still have a VHS player? Maybe we do. I don't know. It's like, why are we doing that when I could do videos and photos and all this document of what I know, what my skills are? And that is the purpose of having this space in the cloud for a student, is because when it comes to having a personal portfolio website, now we say personal learning networks or personal learning clouds when it comes to faculty. When it comes to students, we're also talking about personal portfolio websites. It is my digital outpost on this highway where I can store, document, and showcase my knowledge, my skills, and my abilities. Imagine for a moment with me if you had a student who came in as a freshman and then spent 4 years working on documenting, creating evidence, leaving that university with a polished portfolio website that they could then take and showcase to future employers. In fact, I can tell you about a real story where that actually happened. There's a student named Patty Espinosa who went to school at UC Berkeley studying journalism. She was getting her master's degree. And when she went to class the first day, her professor said to her, your requirement for this class, or the textbook rather for this class, is to go buy a Bluehost web hosting account. Now, Patty is not what you would call a tech-savvy person. She had never built a website in her entire life. And so when her professor told her, go build a website, quite honestly, she was scared. She said, how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. So she gets her account, and we provide some educational videos to show step-by-step on how to build a website, and she builds a website. In fact, we'll switch over here, and we'll show you her website, what it looks like. Now, keep in mind, this is someone who's never built a website before. So Patty, just like when we were talking about the personal learning clouds, Patty also has her own personalized domain name, pattyespinosa.com. And this now became her repository for the entire time that she was at UC Berkeley, for where she could create, document, and showcase her evidence of learning as a journalist. So on this website, as you can see, she took any of her projects that she wanted to be able to make public and to showcase and put it on this website. For example, here, a model for India. This is a story here of her experience when she traveled to India during her time at UC Berkeley. And she, if you actually click on that there, this will take you to her journal article, right? It's almost like this mini news website that she has created that will actually show you a video that she filmed herself, pictures that she took while she was there, and she writes up an article that talks about her experience there and about poverty in India. This is just one example of many of her projects. So imagine Patty, who's never done this before, but has skills in photography, has skills in being able in cinematography, and has skills as a writer, is able to document and create this and put it up in the cloud on a website. She then, after graduating, she graduated about 1.5 years ago, it was time to go find a job. And obviously, even 1.5 years ago, the economy was still struggling. And so what did she do? Yes, she submits her traditional paper resume like we've all done so many times before. And along with that, though, she would tell the employers, if you want to see my work as a journalist, go to my website, pattyespinosa.com. She ends up getting a job, actually, in Texas with an NBC affiliate. And they even told her, they narrowed it down to her and one other potential employee. And they told her that because she actually had a website where they could see that she actually did this and see her type and quality of work, they decided to hire her. And Patty, even though she's been graduated for 1.5 years now, has told me that she plans on never getting rid of her portfolio because this is now a form for professional development. It is a form for her to have lifelong learning and document that. So that is, from the perspective of a student, that is the power that having your own personalized portfolio space in the cloud to create, document, and showcase evidence of learning is what it can do for your students. And so, and as you can see here, even on her website, she still links to all her social media pages to where when she's looking for work or wants to showcase it, she has that whole network there where she can integrate that and share her website with her LinkedIn network, with her Facebook friends, or whatever it may be. Now, back to our slides here, just to kind of tie things up here, and then we can open it up for some questions if you have any questions for Dr. Khan or for myself. What we are trying to help facilitate is this process for both faculty and students to have the technology without limits and to be able to access it from anywhere and take it with them to be able to create content and then deliver that content to their desired audience, whether that's a faculty member to a student or a student to their peer or a student to a future employer. That is what we believe in. That is what we strive to help facilitate. And so we work with institutions all across the country and internationally as well to help deliver this type of a solution. If you're wanting more information, in the back on the table there, we've got some more information as well as some contact forms, and you can actually even fill out a form to enter to win a free pilot as well. So if you have a minute, you can go and check out the table at the end. But that is who Bluehost is, that is what we do, and we believe in this model of learning and moving from teaching to learning. So is there any questions at this time? Any questions? Yes?
So on the student account, I noticed on your site it's like $4.95 a month. When they graduate and go on, what kind of payment plan does it go to?
Sure, great question. So the question was, there's discounted pricing for students right now, and what does it move to once they graduate? Well, the answer is it stays the exact same. We actually provide student rates for life. If they come in as a student and get that, we give them the discounted pricing, plus we give them a free domain, the personalized domain for life, as well as domain privacy to kind of protect that, the registration information. We give that to them for free as well for life. So, great question. Any other questions? Yes? You could try, but I can guarantee you it's taken. Yeah, sure. So, you know, there's the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers is one that does regulation for domain names and sets all those regulations. Naturally, a lot of websites exist, and a lot of people have bought in domains, and so they've actually been releasing new domain extensions. There's actually domain extensions now. Instead of your traditional .com, there's actually .photography, .guru, .education, .ninja. Yes, that exists. So if you want Steve.ninja, there you go. You got it. You can probably try and find it. So they continue to release new domain extensions to where you can try to find that. Most students will do their name, and yes, if you have a very common name, you're probably going to find situations where, like, I tried to get stevehandy.com. That was owned by someone in the United Kingdom. I'm waiting for him to give it up. So I have stevenhandy.com is what I have. But yes, I mean, you're just going to have to find variations. Some students, Grant has a portfolio website, and so he does GM, like his first two initials, Hansen, gmhansen.com. Students find clever ways to do it. Some of them don't even do their name. Some of them do, something creative around, like thecoolkid.com or something like that, But great question. Yes? Right. Right. Sure, great question. So if you didn't hear her question, she was asking, what kind of disciplines run into the most challenges when it comes to adopting a portfolio type website, and what's the utilization like? So you're absolutely right. There's definitely certain disciplines where it's just completely obvious in terms of the application. Like you said, you got your graphic arts, you got your your arts majors, your computing, and it just makes sense. And the interesting thing that we have found is that there are those non-conventional ones where you might think, okay, I'm in the nursing program. How do I do that? But what's really cool is to see faculty that when they say, okay, I have this tool, now how can we document our evidence? How can we do this? Okay, well, maybe we can have them do, we had an auto mechanic guy who said, okay, well, I've asked them to learn they need to learn how to rotate tires, they need to how to do this, so we're going to have them film themselves rotating tires and doing this and explaining it, or teaching a lesson to a peer on how to rotate tires. If you're a nursing student, maybe you film yourself showing how you can actually know how to take someone's vitals, and then you put that up on there. And so they get creative on how to do that. There's the obvious applications, but what's really exciting to me is the non-traditional, if I can use that term, disciplines where there's not the obvious application, becoming creative on how to document evidence of learning. So imagine now, if I'm a nursing student where 99% of those that I'm going up in competition against don't have a website because it just is not obvious, and I do. I mean, imagine that competitive advantage where you can really get creative and figure out how to do that. Now, in terms of the utilization, yes, most of the institutions that we're working with, the knee-jerk reaction is, oh, let's start this in the communications department, or let's start this in the journalism department, or let's start this with the graphic arts. That's always the go-to pilot. Let's try this out here. But we've had some great success at Georgia State and others, with biology departments, where, the sciences, that is just this natural application of, I live in this physical world and I want to document how I'm learning about it, and you can do that so well through video, pictures, audio, and it's just amazing to see what students actually start to document and create. And it's fun for them. They like it. It's interactive. It's tangible. It makes the learning experience very tangible and interactive, and they get to use their favorite thing that they would go to a deserted island with, their computing device, to actually document this evidence of learning. Does that help answer that question? Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, do you have a question?
I did. Oh, yeah, what differentiates you, because I do this with my students, and
awesome.
I think it's great, and I really
awesome.
embrace it all, but you're making some big assumptions that students really love to do this.
Sure.
I get a lot of pushback on this.
Sure.
But what differentiates you between Weebly and Wix? I mean, why would I have my students pay $5 a month when I can take them to a
sure.
site that they would get for free to try it out to see if they even like doing this?
Sure, great question. So yes, we are making an assumption there, and when I make that I don't mean to overgeneralize. I've gotten that direct feedback. We even had students at Salt Lake Community College who were extremely hesitant. I mean, it's change, it's different, right? Anytime you ask them to do something extra, Seriously, really? You're gonna make me build a website? Oh, come on. So we had students that were like that at Salt Lake Community College, and then at the end of the semester, they actually admitted, they said, you know what? This now turned out to be my favorite class because I could actually see what I was learning. And they eventually got it, and they liked it. And so when I say that, I mean, yes, that is a portion of it. I'm not saying that guaranteed 100% everyone's gonna fall in love with it. But then to address your question of what differentiates it out there, yes, there are free solutions out there, and there's other things like Wix and Weebly and whatnot. Now, those are solutions that exist, but they're also free for a reason, where they're limited. So for example, we actually have, show Brenton's website real quick. So Brenton, who's a photography major, who made this super awesome website, and he has these high-resolution photos. Those photos are probably close to a gigabyte each. Now, with any free solution like Wix or Weebly or anything like that, you're going to have limitations. So say Brenton really wants to show off his stuff, and then he tries to go and upload that on a Weebly site. Sorry, can't, exceeded the file size limit, right? Can't do it. And so with a web hosting account, you have the unlimited space, you have the unlimited resources, and it meets the needs of all your students. This is the base technology for every website. It lives on a server. So for your technical students, this is a solution that can work for all your students. For the technical kids, they can practice their computer programming skills. They can get direct line access to the server. They can get SSH, for those of you who are super technical, they get SSH access to the server. They can learn how to build content management systems, manage MySQL databases. They can do all of that, PHPMyAdmin, all of this back-end server stuff, real-world application of cloud technology, they can do that. Maybe they want to custom code their website. We've ran into students who are had a free solution, and they're like, I'm learning HTML, but I can't edit HTML on Weebly. I can't edit HTML on Wix. Well, yeah, because it's a template. It's a web builder. But with a web hosting account, if you want to tweak it, you want to play with it, you want to custom build it, go for it. You can totally do that. Now, for the students who are like, I have no desire to custom code my website. I just want a quick, easy way to build it. You can actually use the Weebly platform on our platform. And you can get a personalized domain. That's the other difference too. Like with Weebly and these others, it's not a personalized domain. You don't have email. There's a lot of extra features, plus we give support. Students can call at 2 a.m. Really, literally. We have 24/7 support. Because no student does work in the middle of the night, right? I mean, they all have it done weeks in advance, right? So we have support in the middle of the night. So there's all those extra features that you get, and all these whole array of tools that's what differentiates us. Does that help? Okay, I think I saw a hand over here. Sure, great question. Are there any analytics? Yeah, that's a great question. Since the adoption of this model is starting to pick up steam, we are still gathering data and trying to analyze that. In terms of analytics, in terms of some analytics that we've seen, we worked with a college in Alamo Colleges down in Texas. And they had a class where, get this, so 50% of those kids actually owned a personal computer. So half of them didn't even have a personal computer. And then they were asking them to build a website. So they didn't even have a personal computer, and they're like, hey, by the way, you're going to build a website for this class. And so that class was a kinesiology class. Okay, so it's like exercise type science, right, of learning about this. And these are kids who are not super technical, don't own a personal computer. And in the past, that faculty member said that the completion rate or the grade completion rate for that, of successful grade completion rate for that class, was around 60%. After doing portfolios and getting all of her students engaged in that, it was 97%. And so in terms of engaged learning, in terms of being able to assess the students through a portfolio, it had a dramatic impact on that. And there's actually a lot of research out there too that we can send you in terms of the impact that a mobile portfolio can have. I can send you more information on a ton of research that's been done there. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, I think we're out of time. Thank you so much. Oh, a question? We'll stick around if you have questions. Or what's that? Did I miss? Oh, you were going to add. Oh, yeah. Of course. Here, you can just take that.
Yeah. Initially, it was architecture and construction management, and so there's a lot of pent-up demand for that. Then it went to computer science and gaming. Then it moved over to the digital humanities, and then it maxed out. It's filled up. So the waiting line, though, has all the sciences. It has engineering. It has literally every every discipline is over there looking at and watching how can we change our engagement.
Thank you. If you have questions, we'll stick around.